Guys, I'm terrified right now. I'm gonna completely honest with you guys. I'm scared right now. I really am. Um, this is gonna be my review for American Horror Story Freak Show, Episode 3, Edward Mordrake, Part 1. This episode was terrifying. Okay, I'm not sugarcoating anything here. This episode was legitimately scary. I was scared. I'm sure a lot of you were scared. I was scared this episode. And I loved it at the same time. It was by far the best episode of the season so far. I definitely loved it. And one of the things I definitely loved about this episode was that it was actually scary the entire time. They've actually found a way to make the show scarier. And it actually made you think Twisty is not actually as bad as he seems. And I actually really like that. Um, so there were a lot of things we found out in this episode. We met two new characters. We found out more about Edward Mordrake. We found out about this new character named Edward Mordrake, who is really scary and really creepy and fucked up, and we'll talk about him. But I should have known this episode would have been scary because it's Halloween. It's the first part of their Halloween episode, which is always the most craziest episode. However, out of all the Halloween episodes they've ever done, this was the craziest. I didn't see the Asylum one. I think I did, but it wasn't that bad. This was terrifying. This was absolutely terrifying. Like, I was legitimately scared in this episode. I applaud them for doing that because it was really scary. So let's just get to it. So basically, the whole episode takes place on Halloween, pretty much because it's a Halloween special. So the whole episode takes place on Halloween, and we see a group of people on a tour in the American Museum of Morbidity, and we see two new characters. Dr. Mansfield, played by Denis O'Hare, he's always on these seasons. Last year he was Spaulding, this year he's Dr. Mansfield, and his assistant, Mrs. Rothschild. They are asking the museum head if their specimen for sale has been analyzed, and it's clear they're con artists. They have no idea what they're talking about. Like, they're con artists, they don't know what they're saying. They are not in any way familiar with money or anything like that. They have no idea what they're talking about. Like, they are not experienced at all. So the museum's expert comes out and says that the thing they brought to them was clearly a fraud. So the fellow walks away very displeased and says he won't press charges for this fraudulent behavior, even though he very well could. So you can see right away that definitely the two of them, I like their characters right off the bat. And we saw this, in that season promo. I knew they were going to start off the episode that way, and I was very happy they did because it was a perfect way to start the episode. So they're about to leave, because they pretty much didn't get what they want. But of course, they're con artists, so they're being very persistent. They're about to leave, but the museum tour guide owner says that her business is falling, it's failing, and if they did bring her something authentic, she wouldn't ask many questions, and she would actually, help them. So she reveals that most of her specimens, because Ms. Rothschild, that's where most of where all this stuff comes from, and she basically says that most of her specimens come from freak shows, which is definitely very interesting. But of course, there aren't. Sorry, guys, I turned on Siri and I didn't even realize it. That was weird. Seriously, this review, that was like this episode, just really weird and scary. So basically, she reveals that most of her specimens have come from freak shows. However, of course, there aren't many running anymore, and she tells them of two that are still going on. There's one in, I think she said Coney Island, and then the other one, of course, is in Florida. So right away, of course, we know that they're going to be interested in Florida. That's the whole point why they're on this show, obviously, because they're basically interested in going after the freak show and finding the specimen. And this sets things up perfectly because right away I was like, okay, their characters are definitely very intriguing. I already like Emma Roberts' character definitely more than Madison. She's not annoying, which I definitely like, because Madison was very, very annoying. Very annoying. Like, it was hard to tolerate her. This character I really like, though, because you don't really know where they're heading towards. So they're obviously heading to the freak show, and it was really awesome the way they started that. So then we see a bunch of trick-or-treaters. They're out and about going from door to door, and we see we're in West Palm Beach, and two parents are talking about the murders in Jupiter, Florida. And the small girl is literally terrified of clowns. Like, she's terrified. She does not want to see a clown. She sees Twisty. By the way, we only see Twisty 3 times in this episode, which I actually thought was very well done because some people said we've seen Twisty a little bit too much, and I was actually happy we didn't see him that much because it made the episode actually more scarier, in my opinion. So this little girl is terrified of clowns. She sees Twisty staring at her from behind the bush, and that was just like, I don't know if they were trying to reference Halloween, but they did it like 3 times in this episode. That was actually a very good reference that they were trying to reference Halloween. Because if you remember, there's a reference where there's like, I believe, the main Jamie Lee Curtis's character is outside, and I forgot her name, Lori. She sees Michael Myers. That was exactly a reference to that. So I thought that was really good. So then we see Ethel, and I really liked Ethel's character more in this episode. We found out a lot more about Ethel in this episode, and that's one of the things I really liked, is that I wasn't a huge fan of her character, but they made me like her character more because I found out more about her in this episode. She goes to visit her doctor, who reveals to her that she actually has cirrhosis of the liver, and he says that she has anywhere from 6 months to a year to live. Like, that is, like, not good. So basically, she's like Fiona now, where we know that she's probably going to die, and she's starting to cry, and the doctor is very kind to her, and I was surprised how kind the doctor was. I mean, he was really one of the first human beings that didn't ridicule, that, was not a freak and didn't ridicule her and wasn't rude to her. He just treated her like everyone else, and she's crying, and it's a really a sweet scene here. And the thing I did like about this episode is, while it was very scary, there was a lot of emotion in this episode, and I like that because you had to have that emotion there. You had to care about the characters, and we're still in the beginning of the season, so we're still getting to know the characters more. And Ethel's crying. Is saying she's crying because he was the first doctor to have ever treated her with any bit of respect. I thought that was definitely very, very good. I really love that scene. I really feel bad for Ethel, definitely, because she definitely has gone through a lot of shit. We find out later a lot of shit she's gone through, but like, definitely she has gone through a lot of shit. So, the freaks are having a Halloween party. They're literally having this crazy Halloween party. But of course, Meep just died. So, Jimmy, of course, he's coming back from digging a grave for Meep, and Doc can see that he's very upset. Dot and Bet have no idea where everyone's just partying and completely ignoring it. Which it doesn't make sense because they're supposed to be a family, and they're just ignoring the fact that one of their freaks just died. And basically, Dot yells at everyone. She's like, shut up, let him talk. And Dot suggests they all dedicate tonight's performance to Meep, but basically they aren't performing tonight because it's Halloween. Because they're afraid of summoning the spirit of Edward Mordrake. Now, keep in mind, this is actually a actual spirit. So that's what makes this actually so creepy, is that this is an actual spirit that you people do think can come back from the dead. It's one of those like myth things, sort of, where they don't know if he's real or not. But in my opinion, I don't know if he's real. I guess we'll see. But like, basically, we find out what they're fear that they're gonna summon the spirit of him. And Ethel comes in at 10, pours herself a glass of alcohol, and seconds of act basically tells the story of Edward Mordrake. He was this man who had a demon face on the back of his head, and he tried to kill it, but basically this demon face said like things you would hear from hell. He would whisper them to him, and basically what happened to him was that he would basically, what would happen to him is that pretty much what happened was that he would have these he went to a freak show, and of course, and everything was good there, except the one night on Halloween, he murdered every single one of the freaks, every single one, and he just went crazy, and he murdered every single one of them. So pretty much, there's actually a myth, and it's a true story. There are many freak shows that are afraid of bringing back this entity. So many freak shows don't perform, and this was one of them. So basically, she tells the story, and Jimmy doesn't believe his mother's story. He doesn't believe a word of it, and it doesn't seem practical. Really, it really does not seem practical. However, you think about it, it does make sense. If how he's sort of like a spirit that's haunting, it does sort of make sense because of the face of the devil. Because the legend has that the face of the devil didn't die; he just was smiling. So that's definitely very interesting. So Jimmy gets up and leaves, and he follows her. And I thought this was really interesting. He asked her why she started drinking again, because she's drinking again and he doesn't know why. And she seems very agitated with him, and she leaves, and she's obviously deflecting, trying to distance herself from her son. After learning that she's dying, she does not tell him about her cirrhosis, which I think was a good thing because he was already going through much with, Meep dying, that he doesn't want to, he's going through so much with that she doesn't want him to go through any more stress and any more pain, so she just ignores it. And I really feel bad for Ethel. I mean, she definitely is going through a really hard time, and that was definitely really sad. So then we see, sorry, I'm getting text messages here, guys. We see Gloria, and Gloria has prepared this very big, like, party for Danny for Halloween, and she's still babying him. And it kind of makes sense why she's babying, because he acts like a child, but, like, we know why he's acts like a child, because he's bored with life. I gotta say, in this episode, though, Dandy was creepy. Dandy is what scared me this episode. It wasn't Twisty. Twisty scared me. Edward Mordrake scared me, but the thing that scared me the most was Dandy, I gotta say. And Wittrock is really doing a great job as Dandy. He really is fantastic. So he comes down and he sees this Halloween costume. However, it's Howdy Doody. Dandy's like, what, 20-something years old? And you give him a dandy costume? Like, what the fuck, Gloria? I understand that she basically just is treating him like a child and she doesn't want him to grow up, but, like, he needs to grow up and he's not a child anymore. So he throws a temper tantrum and he's really upset. You know, he smashes a glass and everything. And his mother's maid, who I love, I think she's hilarious. I honestly love Patti LaBelle's character. She's absolutely hilarious. Dora, she stands up to him and calls him ungrateful, and she says that she's not afraid of him. And Dandy starts to work on his own costume. So that was definitely very interesting. So the freaks are basically preparing a funeral for Meep. You know, Jimmy says a few words about Meep. He talks about how Meep was, you know, a child like all of them were. And a taxi pulls up, and it's Mrs. Rothschild, and she gets out of the car. And she says she's here for a job. And Jimmy is first to greet her, and he insists that she doesn't belong to the freak show. But she introduced her, you know, he says, we're closed, there's no show today. But he realizes that she's actually not a customer. Because basically what she's pretending to be is their plan is for her to go under this identity, Esmeralda. And she's here looking for a job, and she's basically a fortune teller. Now, I really liked her character, because here's the thing I think that's going to happen with her character. Because she's working with the freaks, I really feel that she is definitely going to form a bond with them. I really feel that she's going to. I don't feel she's going to be a villain, because I think they realize that we didn't like Madison. I like Madison, but, like, she became really annoying. So I really hope that Esmeralda is not like that. I hope that Esmeralda, you know, right now she definitely is a villain, but I feel as the show goes on, she's going to start to root for the freaks and she's actually going to understand their way of living. That's just my opinion. So then we get this really fucked up dream that Ben and Dot are having. It makes sense why they're having it, though. They're having a dream of a doctor separating them, and Dot, of course, is the one who wants the surgery. They wake up and Meta said that Dot would consider having the surgery, as it surely will kill one of them. So that definitely is very interesting, because as you know, basically we find out that, you know, if they get separated, it's going to kill one of them. And I think that's really interesting, because in my opinion, I do think that they're going to get separated. Now, the one I think is going to get separated is probably Betty, because, you know, she's the one that has the, you know, because Dot's the main focus here, really. If you think about, Dot's really been the main focus of this show. Yes, we have other characters, but Dot is the main character here. So if they are split in half, I think it is going to be Betty to die. And of course, Elsa does want Betty to kill Dot. So there is that going on as well still, which is definitely very interesting. They don't really bring that up in the episode, but I thought that was very well done. So Jimmy brings in Esmeralda to show off her gifts to Elsa, and she reveals certain elements of Elsa's past, how she lost her fame at the hands of someone else, and basically she tells her how she'll soon be given a second chance at stardom. And my question is, how did they know this? Like, is she actually a fortune teller? Like, we don't know anything about her character, which I think is definitely very interesting, and definitely makes her character definitely very mysterious, and I really like that about her character, because we don't know much of, like, what her character's motive is, we don't know how her character is acting, and I think it definitely is very interesting when it comes to Emma Roberts' character. Definitely, I really like her character because of that. So, of course, Elsa eats this up, offers Esmeralda a job, because, of course, we know that she wanted to basically, you know, she basically wants to be a star. That's what she wants to do. That's why she opened this freak show, because she wanted to be a star. So, obviously, she's going to take this opportunity. So, I thought that was definitely really good. So, then Desiree comes in the trailer, and she tries to have sex with Dell. She's wearing, like, this really revealing dress and everything. But we learn that he's impotent, and basically she's frustrated. She says she can't take it anymore. And basically, we find out that she has had to, you know, he doesn't want to have sex with her, basically. Like, they always try this and it never works. And I think that definitely is a very interesting twist. And then we actually find out that he is abusing her, because he pushes her up against the wall. He almost, like, chokes her. And, like, Dell has a lot of problems, definitely has a lot of problems. We find out some more of his problems a little bit later, but, like, he has a lot of problems. So he storms out and runs into Ethel, and she reveals that she's dying and asks him to look over Jimmy. But she says to him one thing, which is very important, is that basically never tell Jimmy that he is his father. She does not want him to tell. She does not want him to tell him that. So they reminisce about their past together. She asks Dell if he ever loved her, and even in the moment they conceive Jimmy, and he says no, but his eyes kind of tell a different story. So my question is he like ashamed that he liked her? I don't know why he would be ashamed of it, because like I just don't understand why he'd be ashamed, but maybe he is ashamed. I don't know. I think it definitely is very interesting. It definitely opens up a few new possibilities, definitely, and I think that's really cool. So then we see Dandy, and this scene was really weird. It was done like Halloween, actually. Remember the scene in the beginning of Halloween where Michael Myers kills his sister and his parents? Basically, that's what this is, because Danny has made himself a costume as a clown. He grabs a butter knife, and I'm like, what are you going to do with a butter knife? You can't kill someone with a butter knife. Okay, if it was really sharp, maybe like a small cut, but you can't like kill someone and like slit someone's throat with a butter knife. I don't think it's possible. So he runs into Dora, the maid. She laughs at the sight of him, and she says that she's not scared of him. And I thought he was gonna just like kill her off like that, but I thought, you know what? It's too late. It's too early in the season. It's too early in the season to kill off a character that is really big, because Dora is an important character. She is their maid. She is there to be the funny one. She's basically the Madame Lalaurie of this season, which I love because I loved Madame Lalaurie last season, and I love Dora just as much. She's absolutely hilarious. So she really is providing a lot of the funniness to the show. So they end up facing off, and Dora says that Danny doesn't have the guts to kill anyone. That's how she's sure he didn't have anything to do with the murders around town. And, she pretty much thinks Danny is just like, a helpless child. He pretty much is. He's a helpless child. And he tries to do it, though. He's about to kill her, but something stops him. He rips off his clown mask and yells he hates him. He just like, I hate you, Dora. I hate you. I hate you. I hate you. And that is definitely very interesting. And a very creepy scene. It was not the creepy scene in the episode, but it was still very, very creepy. Keep in mind I was watching this in the dark, so yeah. So then we see now I can remember Mrs. Rothschild. She's on the phone with her associate, and she says they ran into Siamese twins, and she's actually afraid of freaks. They give her the heebie-jeebies basically, and everywhere she sees, she just sees freaks. She does not like seeing these freaks. She doesn't want anything to do with them. And she pretty much just wants to get this done. Basically, he tells her they're going to break the bank after this job, and she says this place gives her the heebie-jeebies, and that she never agreed to murder anybody. And basically, he tells her nobody cares what happens to a freak, and basically what he wants to do is he wants to separate the Siamese twins, which I think is definitely very interesting, and now it makes sense why they have that dream, because he wants to separate them. So my question is, how are they exactly going to approach this? Because I don't think a fortune teller will just randomly come up and slice them in half. No, she's not going to do that. They're going to obviously find a way to get to them to split each other in half, which I predicted is going to happen. Now, I don't feel it's going to happen until the mid-season finale, and if that's what they did, that actually would be a genius twist, and I think that'd be really awesome, honestly. So, then we see that he says he has to get off the phone because he has to take care of his business, and we find out that he's in a sex business because this male prostitute comes in, and the male prostitute takes off the man's pants and exclaims, "Oh my God." Now, the question is this like a sexual exclamation or, is it a good kind of exclamation? So I'm trying to figure out what that means here because it kind of seems like maybe he is also sort of a freak. I don't know. Maybe there's something about him. There's just something about him that makes me feel that maybe he's a freak, very also unusual. Definitely, I think that's interesting the way they presented that. So I thought that was definitely very interesting. I'm looking forward to see what they do with that. So Betty and Dara are about to rehearse a song, and Elsa comes in, and she completely yells at them. She wants nothing to do with them. She says this is her time to practice her own song, because of course, that thing that Esmeralda said to her. She is pretty convinced that, some tall, dark-haired man with piercing eyes would arrive to intrigate her career. So she starts singing Gods and Demons, which, oh my god, Jessica Lange killed it again. She sounded amazing. And I gotta say, I really like that they're doing the songs this season. A lot of people are complaining, but I gotta say, here's the thing. This is about a freak show. This is a woman who's always wanted to perform her entire life. Obviously, we're gonna see her sing. Obviously, that's my thing with this show, is that I don't understand why people are complaining about that, because it makes sense. It's not like Glee where they just randomly sing. No, they're not bursting out in song here. These songs actually have context here. And basically, just like I predicted, we knew this was going to happen, her music ends up summoning the spirit of Edward Mordrake. But he walks into the tent, Elsa bows for him. However, when she looks back up, he's disappeared, he's gone. So I'm like, what? How has he disappeared? Like, what happened here? So that was really interesting. So yeah, definitely that was a really interesting scene. I think that was really intense, and that's the last scene we see of Elsa. So we get like this 5 minute scene with Ethel and Edward Mordrake, which I thought was definitely very well done. We see the carnival grounds are still very silent. Ethel's preparing for bed. She senses something behind her, and she sees a dead figure. Next, she sees Edward's spirit come in to chat with Ethel, and she begs him not to take her with him. She pretty much thinks he's a murderer, as she still has so much left to do with her life, and her time is short as it is. And he tells her that he's actually not, gonna kill them. What he wants to do is he wants to get freaks to basically work for him or something like that. He has to hear about her story in its truest form, so his demon, the thing that makes him a freak, may judge her. Basically, that's how he's a freak. So she tells her of her career and I really like that we found out more about her character here. I thought this was awesome. Um, I personally just loved this scene, and I love that we found out more about like why Ethel is so disturbed and is the way she is. Her ultimate fail from the spotlight, she was actually ridiculed towards the end of her career. Basically, she had opened this business where everyone loved to see her. She had all these girls, and she was very skinny, and everyone loved her performance. And towards the end of her career, when she got pregnant, everyone started to ridicule her. They thought she was funny. And right before she grew big with child, Edward says that his demon says she has a darker shame, and then she goes on to reveal that Dell, her first love, we found out why she thinks Dell is so disturbed. Not only did he try to murder Jimmy, he exploited her birth. It's really fucked up what he did. In other words, he treated Jimmy's birth as a show. He said, "Come see a freak show baby, freak show birth." Like, what the fuck, Dell? Like, seriously. He charged visitors to watch Ethel give birth. She cries honest tears, and when she tells Edward that she's ready to die, he hands her a handkerchief. Edward apologizes for making her relive her pains, and Ethel says that she relives them every day. And that was just a really sad line, definitely. And I gotta say, I really like Edward's character because I feel like definitely he's actually going to help them in some way. Like, he's going to help them in the sense that he's going to help them. Basically, I don't know what's going to happen exactly, but I guess we'll just have to see. So we hear a violent whisper belonging to the demon face latched onto Edward's skull, and he says, "Not the one," and Edward disappears, leaving Ethel alive and well. So basically, she's gotten that off her chest. I really feel Ethel's going to die. I really do. I don't know if it's going to be soon, but she's not. She's a supporting character this season, so I'm thinking that she probably is going to die. I'm just saying. I don't know yet, but like maybe soon. I definitely think she's going to die. Apparently, in the next episode, we're going to get a death because we saw in the promo. So, and then we get the scene that terrified me. We get the scene that terrified me, the scene that made me have to go up to my room with a flashlight on. This scene like scared me. So Danny's in his clown costume. He goes to visit Twisty's children. And oh, also before this, I gotta talk about this. Twisty went to this little girl's house, that little girl, and he took her brother because her brother was picking on her. So I kind of have this new theory about Twisty. Twisty, in my opinion, I think is a kid who had parents who bullied him, parents who didn't want to be like a child. They didn't like his childlike innocence. And basically the reason Twisty is killing people is because he himself is a child and he doesn't want to get rid of that innocence. He's just an innocent person. Anyone that's not innocent and tries to ridicule people for it, he kills. And it makes sense, definitely. Especially with the theme of the season. I mean, I think that definitely is Twisty's freakish qualities, that he is childlike. And I definitely really like that. But this next scene really made me realize that Danny's actually much worse than Twisty. Because Danny is like really creepy. He goes and he's like, "Have some candy, have some candy, have some candy." And Twisty returns with a new boy. Danny's there to greet him, and all he says is more fun. And that's how the episode ends. Oh my god, guys, this show is so good. I'm loving every minute of the show, but here's the thing, the show is scary. Like, this episode was scary. It was really fucked up, which I was expecting because the Halloween episodes are always the most fucked up. I mean, in Asylum, they did, like, Anne Frank. Like, that was crazy. but this was actually scary, and I gotta applaud the writers for that. I mean, really, it was so scary. It was really well done. I really loved it, and there are a few things I definitely want to talk about. First of all, Ethel. I really feel Ethel's gonna die. I don't know what's gonna happen with Edward Mordrake, but definitely I feel Ethel is probably gonna die because I think she wants to die at this point. I really feel she wants to, especially what we found about Dell. Dell definitely has a lot of problems. I don't know where it all came from, but apparently Ryan Murray said there's like this scene that Dell has with Matt Bomer's character, and he said it's just like one of the most gruesome things you'll ever see on television. So I guess Dell's like more fucked up than Twisty. Apparently in the next episode we're gonna find out more about Twisty's backstory, which I'm definitely looking forward to because I want to find out definitely a lot more about his backstory. I think it's gonna be really cool to see. Um, as far as as far as uh, the character of Esmeralda goes, I really like her character. But in my opinion, as I said, I really feel that she is no longer going to be afraid of freaks at some point. I feel at some point she's going to actually agree with the freaks and she's going to bring Dr. Mansfield to justice. I don't know his real name, but do you feel that he's also a freak? I really feel there's something about him. I don't know what it is, but I feel there's definitely something about him. I just don't know what it is yet. Elsa, I think that Elsa is, I really like Elsa in this episode. I thought her song was amazing. I think Elsa definitely is getting jealous of Ben and Dot. Definitely, we see that she's getting very jealous of them. I think she still wants to carry that mission to kill Dot, and maybe okay. I actually have this new theory. I just thought of this. Maybe Esmeralda's gonna convince Elsa to kill Ben and Dot. Maybe like Elsa's gonna get more and more upset. But the question is, how do Esmeralda and Dr. Mansfield know about all this? How do they know about all this, basically? That's what I want to know, is how do they know about all this? I have no idea how they do, but I guess they just do. I don't know how, but they do. Um, Dandy is really fucked up at this point. I have no idea what's going to happen with him. It looks like Twisty's going to, like, ruin his Halloween. I don't know. I guess we'll have to see what happens there. But this episode was amazing. I loved it. I thought it was by far best episode of the season. It was legitimately scary. It scared the shit out of me. It made me really scared of a lot of things. I loved it though. I loved every minute of it. Thought it was a great episode. And I would probably just I love everything about this show. The show can't do any wrong. I'm gonna say right now, definitely American Horror Story is probably my favorite show on TV. After this episode, definitely. And I can't wait for part two, definitely. I love the way they end on a cliffhanger. And I'm glad they split this episode into two parts because it actually was done very, very well that they did that. This episode did make me terrified of Edward Mordrake. I'm never working at a circus or a freak show, I'll say that. I'll never work at a circus. Ever. Um, that's my review. Hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you guys saw this episode. Were you guys as scared of this episode as I was? I was just like terrified of it. If you guys know in the beginning, I was like terrified. That's my review. Hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you guys in my next review, which will be my review for the Vampire Diaries. I'll see you guys, or actually no, I think it's gonna be for no, it's gonna be for the season premiere, The 100. So I'll see you guys for that. Okay, bye.